Okay. So first, cheers.
To us.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Okay. Really Real Marriage, episode 1. If that's what you want to call it.
Marker.
Marker.
Glad we don't even need to do that.
No, we don't. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question about our marriage, and I'd love it if you answered honestly. Okay? Do you think we should have gotten married when we did?
No. Absolutely not. I don't think we should have at all. I think it was probably a bad idea and we didn't really think about it. I think we needed more time, honestly, or maybe even not to get married at all.
When we did.
Yeah, at least when we did.
And maybe not at all. I'm like, well, wait a minute, did you want to marry me?
No, I did. I think that's the thing is like when I look back at that time, I think we were just really desperate and really lonely. And I think like we were really, really good friends. Like at that, like we are
You're
really
best
good friends now,
yeah.
but it's like we spent so much time together, so much time laughing and doing things that, you know, made it more enjoyable than just like, you know, hey, like we're gonna, you know, check off the married checkbox. Like that's just part of life. You know, it felt like there was more to it. And to be like, no, it just felt like the wrong thing to do. I think we both had like our own personal issues that we needed to work through.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I would say no, it was probably a bad idea. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's like, look at you guys now, like you guys are great. And it's
Yeah,
like,
we've been together for 10 years and 8 of it was shit.
yeah, so it was garbage for a lot of it. But I think like that's, look, if I knew then what I know now, I wouldn't want to have married me. I think, and like even like you, like I didn't really know, like, why are you laughing?
I wouldn't have wanted to marry you either.
Yeah, I know. I think it would have been a bad idea.
Yeah. Okay.
Same question to you.
No, you have to say the whole question because that'll be like a second thing.
Oh, do you think we should have gotten married when we did?
Say it again.
Do you think we should have got married when we did?
No. No. I think for a long time I was really desperate and really lonely, and I just wanted so badly to get married. And I think marriage for me was like on this weird pedestal, and it was like if I got married, then I have achieved something great, and everything else will just work itself out. And I knew we had issues together relationally, and I also knew that we had issues on an individual level that being together couldn't fix necessarily. But in the moment, I was just so naive and insecure with myself that it didn't matter. And I just wanted to be married. And you were the lucky guy. But no, I don't know. I don't think we should have gotten married when we did. I think we should have waited. I do think that you were the right person for me, but I think we definitely sped up the timeline to fit our own narrative of what was actually going on behind the scenes. I think if like us getting married was like a message to the world that we were okay.
Yeah.
And we weren't.
No, and like timeline. We dated for a year, got engaged, and then we were engaged for a year. So
Yeah,
it's
so
not
we
like
worked together for 2 years before we got
right.
married.
It's not like we were like, oh yeah, like 6 months, like some people do, or you know, like we. I think we both. I remember having a conversation with you one time that was like, how long do you want to be engaged, or like how long is a good time until you get engaged?
I said a year.
Yeah, and you said a year, and I was like, same,
Okay, cool.
Perfect, like great, because
We literally were just creating the narrative for ourselves of like we want to be
Yeah.
engaged for a year, like almost focusing on the task as opposed to focusing on like us.
well, or even like ourselves. I think like
Yeah.
I don't want to say we were too young because, like, we're 30 now, so we started.
We're
dating-
not 30.
Just pretend like you're 30.
Do you know how old I am?
Yeah, you're
How?
33.
I'm sorry?
33.
I'm not 33.
You're 32 and you're
Oh,
turning 33
there
in
you go.
December.
Thank you.
Whatever. I even gave you 30 and you wouldn't even take it. Whatever.
Are you just... Did you just gaslight for getting my age?
No,
You're like, I was giving you a younger age. You didn't
It's
take
been
it.
3 years, so whatever. Your birthday's in December.
Whatever. Anyway.
But yeah, I think like to me, I wanted to hit like that year mark. Who's texting us?
Aww. Hey, Kay. Aww. We love you.
Hearts.
I love her.
It was like a check, like a mark for me, like to some extent, where I always hit like this like 10-month mark with people
In relationships?
Like I would get to like month 10 and then I would get broken up with, and it's like I know that I was not like a very healthy person, like who is when they're like 16 for one.
Sure.
But like to me I was like, if I can get to a year with a person, then I can continue like going and going.
Like you made the rule in your mind that if I can hit 12 months, then I can hit a lifetime.
Kind of. to a certain extent.
That's so stupid.
It is dumb. It is dumb.
But I understand like that. Like you almost make your own rule for like life of like, oh, that's
Yeah.
the life rule. Like if I can hit it this long with this person, then it's destined to work.
I don't know if it was like if I can hit it to a year, it's destined to work. It was like if I could hit a year with a person, then it's progress. It's growth. It's not
like
even
worth
like,
investing
It's not even
in
like
more.
I don't even know if I was thinking about like a lifetime. I think I was thinking about some of the typical like marks of like a marriage that like maybe the typical like American Christian thinks about.
Yeah.
Which was like get married, have kids. Like whatever that looks like, it's almost like those are the two highlights of like my life.
It is like a way to measure success.
Some
in,
badge
like,
of honor.
Yeah, in like the Christian realm of things, it's like if you're single for too long, that's bad. If you're dating for too long, that's bad. If you're
Yeah.
engaged for too long, that's bad. If you're not having kids soon enough, that's bad.
Well, I think it's a lot of that because it was just ingrained to me my entire life. Like a lot of the environments I was in were hyper conservative, and I never found myself exactly relating to all of them. But when you're in that type of culture for so long, it's hard not to take on some of those things because those are the things that are being talked about, and people think that's the goal to attain. It's like, I've attended small churches and mega churches, and it's kind of the same thing. You date somebody with the intent of getting married to them, and you pick one. Is kind of like the idea, even as like you pick that one person, no matter who they are, what they do, whatever their issues
Love is a
are.
choice.
Which is like it is.
Yeah.
But the problem I think with that, especially with younger people, is that there's this fear that's instilled in you from such a young age. What?
Are you in focus?
Am I in focus?
I don't think you are, sweetie pie.
Oh, okay. Fun. Let's see.
Is this like an autofocus situation?
I don't have autofocus set on this camera right now.
All right,
I have it on
lean
this
back.
camera.
Oh, that's much better. Yep, that's good.
We'll just continue. I don't care about being
It's
blurry.
fine.
The audio's great.
Yep.
I just think that I was... There's not even like this, the ground rules of like, this is what healthy dating is. I think like, I feel like I've heard sermons or messages that like they tried to define elements of healthy dating, but even then, like it was not coming under the standard of like biblical spouses, like husbands and
Yeah.
wives. So
Yeah. And I feel like I came into, like my concept of marriage was formed in such a different way because I wasn't necessarily like raised in the church, and I didn't grow up going to church every single Sunday. It was just something that I kind of stumbled upon on my own.
Yeah.
And I didn't really have guidance as to what a healthy, functional marriage looked like. My parents were divorced when I was really, really young. And even in their second marriages, I won't say that they were bad or are bad, because I don't think they're bad, but there were definitely a lot of moments where I didn't see like godly marriage being mirrored for a long time growing up. So the concept of marriage and like what a healthy marriage looked like was something that I kind of just had to dream about and imagine. And there was one couple that I was friends with for the longest time. And I remember the way that they looked at each other and the way that they spoke to each other, and then the way that they spoke about each other to other people. I was just like, oh, I have never seen that before. Like,
Yeah.
that's weird, but great. like, I don't know, even just like the tiniest thing, like he would pick up the phone if she called and he would be like, hey baby, how are you? I love you. I miss you. How's your day? And like, it would just be so tender and so
Yeah.
genuine. And they had been married for a while at that point. It wasn't some like weird honeymoon phase. He just genuinely loved her
Yeah.
and genuinely had honor and respect for her, and vice versa. Like, she felt the same way and mirrored that feeling towards him, when they were alone and when they were in front of people. And that was a concept that it was really hard for me to grasp and to really realize that is a real thing and that can be a reality. And that was just something I really wanted. And I think when we got together, that's not what we had at all.
No.
But I also thought, I thought very naively yet again that, well, me and him get along really well. He's cute. And I do think we could get married and it could be good.
Yeah.
He'll change.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, granted, I will say 8 years later, you did change, but I think it's really unhealthy and unfair to go into any kind of relationship, especially a romantic relationship, with the expectation and hope that somebody's going to change.
Yeah.
We are changing and evolving beings. That is in our nature. We do change over time, but we don't change for the sake of somebody else's need or desire. We change for ourselves and what we need, and we change. Hopefully, we change with what God wants for us and how we want to grow closer to Him. And I know for the longest time we weren't doing that in the right way, and I just couldn't understand why my need and my want from you wasn't being met. When I thought that I deserved to be talked to the way that my friends talked about each other, and I deserved to be respected and honored, and vice versa. So did you. And for some reason, we just weren't getting it, and it wasn't happening. And for the longest time, I was very stuck as to why can't Jake just blank? Why can't he just love me the way I want to be loved, or have it look this certain way? And just knowing you, Enneagram 4 over there, whenever anybody tells you what to do or directs you with specifics of
Hate it.
I know you absolutely
I don't like
hate it, which in a marriage, that is just something that happens. At least in a healthy marriage, that's something that happens where it's hey, maybe my cup's not being filled in this kind of way. And even going back to love languages and stuff, if my love language at the time was quality time, but yours was, physical touch or something.
Sure.
And I'm Jake, I don't like it when we don't spend time together. I really want to spend time together like this or whatever. As an example, it's
Right.
this would be usually a response of hey, I need XYZ from you in order to feel loved. Ready?
Yeah.
It was like immediate annoyance, which would like set me off, and I'd be like, oh, never mind. I'm asking for too much. Forget it. Just forget it. And it's like, well, no, we can't forget it. Like we have to.
Right.
We have to meet
I don't know.
each
I
other
think
in
some
certain
of
ways.
it, well, I mean, like, going to that, I think it's safe to say, like, especially being an Enneagram 4 and believing I'm an Enneagram 3 at that time, like, I think it felt more overwhelming to me because it just felt like, here's another thing to do, you know, and it felt like, and just speaking like for that toxic person that I was, of like another thing, like I'm getting asked to do another thing, like what isn't good enough about what I'm doing. And it became less about seeing the other person, but it became so much more about me. And
So it's like, hey, Jake, I am lacking love from you.
Yep.
I need more in this way. It would be like, how dare you not think I love you?
right, kind of sometimes.
I mean, obviously not in
don't
that
think-
kind of a way,
not-
but internally, I'm sure, I
always,
know that struggle was there for you of like, oh my gosh, she needed something else from me. She must be thinking I'm the shittiest husband, or like she must be
Yeah.
thinking I can't deliver, or that I don't love her, or whatever. Like, oh, you know,
Yeah,
like, and like you said, it became more about like your feelings as opposed to like my needs.
Yeah, or wants.
Or wants,
like,
yeah.
I think it, like, again, I think it's like you think I think I'm this Enneagram type, and then I'm being told I'm not doing this. So then I'm like, man, I must be failing on all fronts, and
For an achiever, I'm failing.
right, and it's like you're saying something, and I'm like, well, it's kind of like then start doing the checklist. Well, I did this, and then I did this, and I did this, and I said this, and I did,
Oh,
you know,
I hate that. That's so triggering.
yeah.
Oh, Jake, I'm so serious. That makes like my skin crawl.
I know, but I'm talking about myself.
I know.
At that time,
I know.
where it's like, you're like, here's me explaining this, and I'm going, here's what I responded with.
Yeah, and
Not
just
even justifying
just
it.
for an example to like,
It's not a justification of, well, then I start
No.
doing this. It's going, you're saying you need something, and in order for me to relieve myself of that responsibility, then I say, here's what I took responsibility
Yes,
for.
yes, that's it.
And that's what I think is, it's not like those are bad things. It's like you're saying all these good things, and you're like hyping it all up of like, I did the dishes, or I complimented you here, and
Yeah.
and like, I gave you a gift here, like just all these random things.
yeah,
you
it
know.
would, and for me, on like the receiving end of that kind of response, it's like, hey, Jake, I need quality time from you. I'd love to like just sit down and hang out with
Yeah.
you. And depending on where you're at, you're like, I did the dishes, and I bought you this gift, and I wrote you this card with all these beautiful words, and I held your hand and I hugged you, and we had sex, and like all other things that were loving. And in my mind, in those moments when you're like justifying with all these other things that you did, I'm like, what does that have to do with the quality time I'm
Right.
asking for? And for me, it made me feel like I'm asking for too much from you.
Right.
Like okay, Ashley, you are being really needy. You're demanding for too much, and you need to back off. Like my need for quality time was now irrelevant because I already got something else from you at some other
felt
previous
like
time.
it was like, here's what you're getting. Now you're asking for more. Like, and to me, like in my twisted little mind, I'm going, well, I did this, and then it turned into us, spending time for 30 minutes or a half hour, that's the same thing, an hour, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was taking time and going, okay, well, this person's saying this, and now I'm applying what they are saying that they need to the thing that has nothing to do with what you're asking about.
Yeah.
And like that, I think was just a lot of the disconnect of like here you are asking for something, here I am going, you don't even see me. And that, I think, was where the annoyance or the frustration came in. And again, not knowing at that time, like, I'm an Enneagram 4, I want to be seen as
even with Enneagram
it's
shit,
not,
like
it's
it
not
doesn't
everything,
matter.
but I'm saying because of that, it's a need that for me, I'm like, I didn't realize I needed met because I thought I was an achieving person. I thought I was like, you know,
You didn't
like,
understand
I
yourself.
I didn't get me. So when you're demanding more, and I'm going, this person isn't even seeing me. Like, why should I have to continue to give if this person's not even seeing? And I probably wouldn't even be able to communicate
It's
that
so
way.
funny though too, because it's like in that moment of you being like, this person doesn't even see me. Why should I keep giving more when they don't even see me? When in all reality, you weren't even seeing yourself.
No.
Or having an understanding as to why you even felt so like, you know, like frustrated or
Right.
annoyed. So I'm sorry I annoyed you with my friendship.
God, you're so annoying. No. I think like we didn't get it. And I mean, it really, for me, like it still wasn't until years later of like finally trying to come to terms with who I am.
Yeah.
You know, what am I to the world? What am I to
Or even
this
just
family?
to yourself.
Yeah, what am I to myself? Like it wasn't until
I think if you don't know who you are to yourself first, who you are to the world or to your family, it's none of that's going to make
But
sense.
again, I think that's the thing that happens inside of a church culture. Not all churches, but a lot of churches.
Like generalized
and then
speaking.
probably really unhealthy families.
Yeah.
Is that like identity for yourself is completely missing because what you need to have is the family dynamic.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's something that like I think churches push all the time because when you get married, the two have become one. That type of statement.
It's like, sure.
So to me, it's like, here's all these things that I'm doing, and this person doesn't see me. They don't even see, you know, the unique, you know, identity that like we both then have as a couple. And it's like, we're both kind of pointing the finger, like in that Spider-Man.
Like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah.
Like the,
Yeah, where it's like, you don't even see me, and you're like, you don't even see me. Like, you don't
No,
even
you don't
understand.
see me back.
Right, and it's like, you have like your marriage, she's like, you guys don't even see each other.
yeah.
You know, like that third
And it's
person.
like, yeah, it's like you don't see yourselves.
Yeah.
You want them to see you, but you don't even know you.
Right.
And then you're getting mad that they don't know you the way
Right,
that
it's like
you know
can
you or that you don't
It's
know
like
you.
you can communicate the basic need that you have. You know, if you want to boil everything down to like the 5 love languages, like
Sure.
great tools, but
Yeah.
like they're not everything.
No.
Because there's so much more to yourself and to your marriage. But we can communicate, a lot of times we're communicating out of like those 5 basic needs, like,
Sure.
oh, like I need like your attention. Okay, I need quality time, but I also need your attention, physical touch, like,
Sure.
you know, or I need you to see me for like, again, the attention, give me a good gift. Like that's really
Yeah.
what my heart is needing. And it's like, you can communicate those things, but in reality, like you're communicating, I think sometimes out of those needs, not out of anything but selfishness, because
Yeah, sure.
you're still uniquely you, and you still need to fill up your own cup.
Yeah.
And I think we didn't get that, and I think it's really rare that it's even taught anywhere. Like you can't.
But that's such a catch-22, dude.
Okay, go ahead.
That's such a catch-22 because I think that even that statement is a really good excuse that some people use to not show up for their spouse.
Keep going.
Okay, so if I have a need, which I'm sorry, but being loved in a certain way, specifically by your spouse in a healthy marriage, that's a need.
Yeah.
Like that's, I think some people confuse that with being a want. Like, well, you want me to love you while showing, you know, words of affirmation, but you don't need it. It's like, no, some people, that is how they are able to best function as themselves as a spouse, is to like
Yeah.
know that they're receiving the love that really hits them the way that other kinds of love maybe don't hit them, if that makes sense. So it's like, no, I don't need somebody to fill my cup nonstop. I don't like, if my love language is quality time, I don't need you to spend
Right.
24 hours a day pouring quality time
Yeah.
into me. Like, even now, we have 2 kids and like life is busy. Even just sitting with you for like an hour here or there alone, it fills my cup so
Yeah.
much. And it makes me feel so loved by you, and it makes me feel so reconnected with you. And I think sometimes speaking any kind of need, because again, it is a need, to a partner every now and then might feel like, oh my gosh, you are asking me for too much, or like, wow, you're relying on me to make you feel a certain way, and I can't be held responsible for that. And to a certain extent, that is true. Like, I do not like rely on you, Jake, as my husband, to give me happiness. I don't rely on you to give me peace
Yeah.
about my life as a whole, or even to completely fill my cup consistently all the time with the amount of love that I need. Like, there's only so much love that I can get from you on a regular basis. And the rest of it is kind of like my own doing of like, okay, Jake's only a human. He has certain limits.
Yeah.
There are certain things that he will not be able to pour into me, and that's okay. Like, I have to be okay with that. After that, it is my responsibility to seek fulfillment from something else, whether it be from myself, from the
Yeah.
Lord, whatever it might be in that moment. But I don't think it's good for some people to use that as like a manipulation tool of like,
I think-
oh, you don't need me to make you feel a certain way, so I'm not going to love you in the way that you're saying that you need, because you don't actually need it.
No, I mean, I think we're kind of both saying the same thing. I think we both agree with that. It's like, you can't use, your examples are like, I'm not going to fill your cup or like what you need in a relationship, because now you're coming across as needy. Like, there are things that you do in a marriage relationship that you don't do in other relationships. And there's a vulnerability that you have in that relationship that you don't with others. Like, there's more to it than just like, well, I don't need this. I think what I'm saying in all of it is, you need to be healthy and the other person needs to be healthy as well. The
On
second,
an individual
basis.
basis.
Like level, because I think we even said it yesterday where it's like, okay, like we went and got lunch together. Like, we had a little bit of
Alone.
time during the day to like prioritize just existing together. And I think for some people it's like, you kind of hear the like, we got to prioritize, a date night once a week. And I'm
Once
like,
a week, man, that
right. Like, well, that'd be great.
that would be great.
And like, good for
I
people
don't think we
who
have a
can
big
do
enough
that.
babysitter budget for that.
No, like, I would love to be able to do something like that, but like, if life doesn't call for it, and even then, like, sometimes it just feels better to just be in our home, like,
It
even just as a
does,
family.
yeah.
Like,
Sometimes like the date night things can get really like forced or like not feel the greatest, where it's like, you know what? Yes, I do want to be alone with you. I do want to connect with you. But man, do we have to like put on this like pony show of like
Yeah.
getting dressed up and going out and whatever? Like, I just want to be in my
I get it.
I just want to be in my most disgusting state with you, like walking around in my underwear with my stomach hanging out. While you play video games and we just lounge on the couch and like
Yeah.
yell at the dogs,
yeah,
you
and
know?
I mean, like, you could just, I mean, there are times where we just sat,
Yeah.
not even talking to each other.
No, just being by each other.
And I think like that's where I'm like, I can define healthy, because like, we don't need the stimulation of a thing
Yeah.
or a time together in order to say like, I enjoyed my time with my spouse. Like,
sure.
there are times where we've gone out and it's been awesome.
Sure.
We've had times where,
Because date nights are awesome. I
dressed to the
do love
nines.
getting dressed up and going
yeah,
out.
like, there's nothing wrong with
super
that.
fun.
I think for and then why I say like, I would define healthy is like, it's that we know there's a need for it, and we communicate, hey, like, we haven't had this element in our relationship.
Yeah.
We've had all of these other things, but our awareness to this missing piece is like, hey, we probably should prioritize that.
Yeah. I do want to bring this back to like the actual topic because we tend to bunny trail.
We do.
So I'm sure some of this will probably be cut and put into other little clips.
Maybe.
Who cares? But so the whole question at hand was, were we ready to get married when we did? Or should we have gotten married when we did? And I think the synopsis of that for both of us is that we were both two really unhealed, damaged people with really skewed versions of what we think marriage should look like.
Yeah.
And what we were expecting from the other person.
Yeah.
And I think, it took us a really long time to see that, to realize that.
Figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, we've been together for almost 10 years in general. And it took us 8 really shitty years to try to figure it out. And granted, like the last 2 years with you have been like, a prize. Like, truly, I'm so serious.
I don't know why in my mind I'm like Borat, like very nice.
Very nice. I like you.
Yeah, like
No, for real though, like, I don't know, the last 2 years with you has been so delightful and so nice.
So then, like, we're like, okay, let's not get married. We said like a bunch of general stuff about like healthy relationship dynamics. So my question is, so then...
Oh, we're moving on to another question?
Well, that's what came to my mind.
Okay.
Yeah, of like, so then, like we are on the verge of a divorce. It's 2020. So many people have this story of like, my question is, so then why stay in a marriage that...
Oh, this
like,
is a whole different episode, my dude.
It's not. The question is, the first question, literally, should we have gotten married? We said no. So then
why did we stay married?
So then why did we stay married?
Okay, so should we have gotten married? No. Why did we stay married? We almost didn't. And I think we almost didn't stay married because we were stuck in that unhealthy cycle for so long. And honestly, like if we were still in that cycle, like if that cycle didn't change, we wouldn't still be married.
Right.
Like it to me, I would probably say like marriage wasn't worth it. Like it wasn't worth the work.
No.
It wasn't worth whatever because we were still so unhealed and things weren't changing for a really long time. So our marriage in the state that it was in was not worth keeping.
No.
And I think we both knew that. And it was a really hard pill to swallow because we did almost lose absolutely everything that we had.
Yeah.
With each other, with our family. We have 2 daughters now, but we had 1 at the time. We were starting to plan life away from each other. We were separated for a while, and I don't know about you, but like for a while I was looking for apartments and I was trying to budget out in my mind like what I could afford without you.
Yeah.
And if maybe I could... Gigi! Knock it off! I was trying to budget out like what I could afford without you. And I thought to myself, like, I don't make a ton of money, but it would just be me and my daughter living with each other probably for the most part. If we had to do a studio or something, I could maybe afford that. And just trying to logistically make it work without you.
Right.
And as scary as that concept was of just like selling our house, starting over, being alone and raising my daughter as like a single mom. Granted, I wouldn't be like, you'd still be there in the picture, but like it would be so radically different. It was such a terrifying thought. But with how unhealthy we were together, it was better than staying together.
Yeah.
But I think what ended up ultimately changing that for me was the fact that sometimes I don't like talking about this.
Old me.
Old you. Yeah. Because, well, I also don't want to make it like dysfunctional marriages take 2 dysfunctional pieces. It's not just one person who is 100% wrong and then one person who's 100% right. in our situation, I know we were both wrong and both unhealthy in different ways.
Yeah.
But you did take up about like 80% of that. and maybe that might not be a right ratio,
Probably
whatever.
not. Like,
no,
and when I say
but-
like it's probably not, it's not acknowledging your like experience as lesser. It's just going.
Yeah.
I think out of all of this, it is not a focus, honestly. Like when we talk about
Right.
like, and
I just don't ever want to make you feel like
I'm sure a person's question, like if they were thinking like about this part, and I'm going, you probably played more of a role than you actually think. Like,
Yeah.
And I go, well, the focus has mostly been on like who I was.
Sure. And like honestly, when you ask like the thing of like, okay, well, what changed? What changed? What made us stay together? I think an honest answer, like my first answer is like, well, Jake decided to change. Mm-hmm. And like, because I really think that was the first step that had to take place in order for me to feel in any way safe with you again. We couldn't carry on the way that we were and have any kind of chance at surviving.
Yeah.
And when you started to make a healthy change for yourself, you started going to therapy, you sought out the Lord like harder than I've ever seen anybody seek out the Lord before. It felt better over time. It wasn't instant. It still took a long time for me to even be comfortable sleeping in the same room as you.
I know.
But over time, you chose to lean into vulnerability and into honesty, which those were two of your biggest weaknesses for the longest time. You refused to be vulnerable. You refused to be honest.
Yeah.
And when you decided to break your own knees every single day to surrender to those things, you were a safer person. And I started to feel that. And when I started to feel safe with you, I started to feel a little bit of hope. And when I started to feel a little bit of hope, I started to see like more of a future with you. When before, like my future did not involve you, but they can involve a safe and honest person. And that's who I saw you becoming. And so I think that's ultimately why I stayed. And I don't think I knew it in the moment, because I was ready to file. Like, you know it, I know it. We had a conversation about it. It was going to happen. I just didn't know when or how. I literally was Googling how to file for divorce because I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how to do this. This isn't something I was expecting.
You were like, you don't know when it's going to happen. Like,
because I haven't figured out how to do
Well,
it.
you didn't say that. You're just
But that's what I was thinking.
It's like I'm going to get my revenge. I don't know what day, I don't know what time, but when it happens.
But when it happens, you're going to be served.
Yeah, whatever.
But no, honestly, it was more so of a thing of like, I just didn't know how.
Right.
So, but
for me, like I think I was really naive, honestly. Like
we both were.
in the whole process. I never looked for apartments. I didn't.
You were in denial, I think, for a little bit.
No, I actually wasn't. So like when everything blew up, like maybe like a couple days later, like
After the hole in the wall?
no, before the hole in the wall.
There were so many fucked up moments in our
Right.
relationship.
But again, like unhealthy people, and like that was even like still in like the beginning of my like healing process. But like the week everything happened, I think like maybe 2 or 3 days later, like I don't know if I've ever told you this. I wrote it in that card that you have upstairs.
In my drawer?
The one that you're supposed to open in 5 years.
I'm waiting.
I don't even know if I want to tell you now. You know, because you have a card. And like now we're talking about it.
Was
But-
it that monumental for you?
Yeah. honestly. Like
I remember when you gave me that card. He gave me a card that said open up in like 2020.
No, 5 years. Yeah, 2025.
2025.
Yeah.
And I remember like receiving it and I was so irritated with
hated
you.
it.
I hated it and I hated you
I know.
for a while. And in my mind, I was like, this smug idiot. Like, joke's on him. He thinks we're going to be married in 5 years.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, great. Yep, I'll open it up in 5 years. Every single time I open up my drawer, I'm just like,
I'm so conflicted right now of like telling it, like legitimately.
here's the thing. You made that own timeline for yours. Why don't we just go get it and open it?
Okay, I'll go grab.
Go grab it. You made that timeline for yourself, buddy.
Shut
We
up.
know we're not gonna get divorced anymore.
How much
Roll
time?
the tape.
How much time are we on?
41 minutes.
Oh my God.
We should make sure the cameras are still alive.
We might have to change out a memory card on your camera.
Will it not alert you? Oh my gosh, if it stopped.
That'd be so funny. The battery died.
Are you kidding me?
No,
How much did you get?
I don't know. And then we were talking about this card right
Upside
here.
down, my dude.
They don't need to read it.
It says open in 5 years.
Yeah. So, recap.
Yeah.
I had, open it.
No, oh, you wrote this in 2020
I wrote it
when
in
we were at
2020.
our absolute worst.
This was a couple days after,
I told you I wanted a divorce.
yeah. So it was after that.
And it says open in 5 years, but we created our own, you created your own timeline.
I
We're
did.
very healthy now. We know we're not going to get
yes,
divorced.
I get it. Yeah, open it.
So you were torn on whether or not you wanted to tell me what you wrote in it.
Yeah, because I don't have these experiences very often. So I even forget what I wrote in it.
I don't think you did. Oh, shit.
Oh yeah, what does the sticker say? What does it say?
It says the adventure continues.
Ah, that's funny.
That's so funny.
That's funny. Okay, what's the front say?
It says, here's to future you and to present you too, because present you is really amazing.
I think there's a sticker on the inside.
I know that there is.
Don't let it fall off.
Oh, wait, okay.
Yeah.
So it says to reveal your fortune, warm this card with your hands, because we were so into these
Yeah,
cards
we
for a
were.
while.
So they had stupid messages in them.
I loved the stupid messages. We both did.
I don't even know what is that. It'd be so funny if it stayed black.
No.
There's like no words on it.
It says future generations will worship you.
I don't think I remember it saying that, but that's so funny.
That's really funny. All right. You son of a bitch.
What?
You are so stupid.
What?
But you're not. Okay, so it literally says congrats.
Go ahead.
Just a reminder, I told you I wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
And I was going to file.
Yeah.
And then you gave me this card a few days later.
No.
It says, here's to future you and to
already said
present you.
this.
I don't care. Here's to future you and to present you too, because present you is really amazing. Congrats. And you wrote, we made it. I had a dream 5 years ago that we would make it. And I'm glad we went through it. I'm glad we went through what we did to make it here. Here's to forever. Love, Jake. Yeah. Marriage is really hard, but I'm really
Yeah.
glad we're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else but you. No. I was talking, I know I mentioned this earlier, but I was talking to somebody today who was talking about how hard marriage is, and I said, it's so funny, like, people tell you growing up, like, marriage is hard work, like,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work, and you don't really know what that means until you're in it, and then when you're in it, you're like,
Heck yeah.
fuck, are just hard.
Yeah.
And it's like having a baby. Like when
Yeah.
somebody has a baby and goes through those labor pains and they explain them to you of like how hard it is, like you don't know it until you have your own baby and you go through those pains yourself and you're like, wow, it's just impossible to describe. But the fruit that comes from the pain is so worth it.
Yeah.
And like the fruit that came from all of our pain was so worth
Yeah.
it. Because like we're not where we were. We're not who we were.
No.
And our marriage is like so much better than I ever dreamed it could ever be. And I think we just had to go through. We had to go
We had to go
through
it.
hell.
Yeah. Like when I say I was naive, like,
There's a lyric.
I haven't even told you the dream yet.
No,
So forget the lyric for a minute.
I'm listening.
I had a dream, like I was in this big empty mansion,
Okay.
and like I was walking with like what I assume, like I'm assuming it was you. Like it wasn't like super clear, like in it. I knew where I was, but like I remember walking into this giant foyer. It was just this big empty house, and like my family went in and like went into like just a specific place and they grabbed one box out of this giant empty house and then they left. And then like you and I were just hanging out, like just, you know, checking out the house, looking at like this giant, like I said, it's like this mansion type house. And then like we went and we sat down outside. Like it was kind of like we knew, and like I knew like this house was like an inheritance, so to speak.
Yeah.
But there was only one box that like actually came out, and I was really confused about that. I'm still confused about that, of like there was this one box that came out in this giant house. That's all that was in there. And like we sat down, and like I could see, like it was almost like a video game. Like there was just like a bunch of different stats. Like, but I was examining it on like for you, and like there was no words on them, but they were all full.
Yeah.
So I was like, all these bars are full, and I was like, I had asked. I said, so, like, are we good? And then you said, yeah, that happened 5 years ago. We're good. And then I woke up. And like I like had this sense of like 5 like in there.
What is 5?
Grace.
Say that again?
Grace. I think 5 is grace in the Bible, if I remember correctly. And so like I had
We
this.
need a hell of a lot of it.
So yeah, so I had this dream, and I remember sharing it with Matthew, and that was kind of it. Like I think he's the one who told me like it was grace or whatever word it was, and I don't know. I think that's why I was, like I said, I was naive, because to me I was like, if I can be who I know that I am, then this could work.
Yeah.
So I think it took for me, honestly, until after, like probably a little bit after Millie was born, to like legitimately see you on board.
Yeah.
Like it was that long. Like we had another kid on the way, and I was like, I don't think she likes me still. That's so many
I
moments.
wavered on and off.
Yeah, and I know you still do.
Healing is never linear.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I had to accept for myself. Like, because I would have good moments with you and then bad moments, but less because of anything that you did or didn't do, and more so with my own internal struggle of being able to
Yeah.
trust you again. And I would feel safe, and then it's still running.
How many minutes? 8?
8 minutes.
Yeah, we're good.
I struggled with like trusting you, and that was like my own internal battle that I just had to deal with myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, even in those moments of me like pulling away from you, you never stopped seeking me. And I think it wasn't until then that I genuinely knew what it felt like to be pursued by you. 8 years into our relationship.
Yep.
But even with that, the more I pulled away, sometimes you'd lean in harder, and sometimes you would just stay where you were, but you wouldn't pull away in return, which made me feel really taken care of and really safe. And like, I think that helped me trust you more than anything else. So it was less of, oh, I wasn't sure if I liked you still, and more of, I don't know if I can allow myself to be vulnerable with him again, and I don't know if I can allow myself to trust him again. Like, it was just a fear. Like, I knew that I liked you. It wasn't like I loved you and love you. And I think that's just where it made everything so much more scary, because it's like, I don't want to be vulnerable with this person and pour out my love for them again just to be hurt again. I can't. So it was like this ebb and flow where like I would get closer and then I'd pull back a little bit and then get a little bit closer and then pull back a little bit. And you're right. I still have little moments of that every now and then still, because again, healing isn't linear and it takes a long time sometimes. But I do like where we're at, and I like where we're going, and I'm thankful that you healed, and I'm thankful that we didn't give up, and that even in like the darkest, grossest, ugliest, most painful moments, like we still said yes, even if we were didn't want to, you know? And the lyric was, hell was the journey, but it brought me heaven. And that's by Taylor Swift. But it's true. Like, it was hell. It was absolute hell.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But I do think we had to go through it to have the amazing relationship and marriage that we have now.
Yeah.
Like, we're still very young, regardless of how our knees make us feel. But we have our whole lives to keep reaping the benefit of our past hell. And that feels really sweet.
So yeah, we're still in it.
We are. Bitch.
All right. We did it.
We did.
Okay.
Cheers. Let's cut it.